Right now on Matter of Fact.
Do you have proof that people are trying to break into your voter electoral management system every day?
Yes, we do.
Is disconnect in D.C. leaving states vulnerable to Russian hackers? Plus, this mom says Big Pharma is holding her daughter hostage.
Why does it make you cry?
Watch your child struggle. You watch them try to get better.
They can get better if the price is right. And lessons learned. 1 year after a white supremacist rally rocked Charlottesville, can the city's first black woman mayor help heal old and new wounds?
Racism has been and still remains a problem in Charlottesville.
I'm Soledad O'Brien. Welcome to Matter of Fact. The Russians are coming again. The American intelligence community says, make no mistake about it, our electoral system is still a hot target for hackers, especially agents of the Russian government. We're less than 100 days until the midterms, and despite warnings from intelligence officials that foreign governments will try to interfere, the Senate shot down a proposal that would have given states an extra $250 million to beef up security. 46 Democrats, 1 Republican, Senator Bob Corker, supported the measure. Earlier this year, Congress gave states $380 million to safeguard the midterm elections, and Republicans want to know how that money's been spent before they recommit to more. Back in 2017, when Homeland Security designated elections as critical infrastructure, many secretaries of state initially opposed that designation. Jim Kondos is Vermont's Secretary of State. He was once a voice of opposition, but has changed his mind. He joins us from Burlington, Vermont today. It's nice to see you, sir. Thank you for talking with us. You were in opposition to this designation, as I just mentioned. Why?
So, Soledad, the whole reason why we actually had questions about it and concerns is that we did not know what a critical infrastructure designation meant. And many of us, many of my colleagues and I, we felt that this looked like an overreach of federal government, that they were going to try to take over. And it wasn't really until about 6 or 8 months later that we actually learned exactly what the critical infrastructure designation would do for us, and that it would provide additional resources.
So $380 million was appropriated. How did the state of Vermont use that money? What came out of it?
So first thing we did was we did a complete penetration test of our election system, which came out in good shape. And then we're also adding 2-factor authentication for any access into our voter election management system.
Do you have proof that people are trying to break into your voter electoral management system every day?
Yes, we do. We monitor every day, and one of the things we have a graph that shows that since April of this year, we've been averaging approximately 2 million scans per day. About 800,000 of those per day are what we consider unauthorized scans. The good news is we have the defenses in place to block them.
So let's talk about this $250 million. I mentioned that the Senate shot that down. Their rationale was, we want to see how everybody spent the prior monies that were allocated before we get into this next round of monies. Do you think that's a valid response from the Senate?
I do not. I think that, frankly, it kind of surprised me to hear that. When you think about it, we had $380 million appropriated to the states, and we didn't start receiving that money until sometime around May, June, end of May, early June. And to think that we would have spent that money already is really unreasonable.
I mentioned that it was not exactly a bipartisan vote, with the exception of Bob Corker, who sided with the Democrats on it. Why is this a political issue, the security of elections? It seems to me that everybody would be like, yay, secure. That would be a good thing.
Well, we think that voting is the bedrock of our democracy, and we think it's very important that we have the resources to be able to focus on the job at hand. We have been focused especially since 2016, when our world was turned upside down, and we've been doing everything we can to secure our elections process.
So should people, not just in Vermont, but around the country, believe at this moment in time their vote and the election is safe or it's not safe.
Soledad, one of the things to remember is cybersecurity is like a race without a finish line. It's an ongoing problem, it's an ongoing concern, and we need to focus and keep focus going forward.
You'd like that $250 million that the Senate did not approve. Jim Kondos is the Secretary of State for the state of Vermont. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Soledad.
You bet.
Next on Matter of Fact.
It must be very frustrating. You're dealing between a child who lives and dies.
It is. This is your child. It's very heartbreaking for me to see this struggle.
How do you survive when a life-saving prescription is more than your paycheck? Plus, returning to Charlottesville, how has the city changed 1 year later?
The discovery of insulin nearly 100 years ago was one of the greatest triumphs of modern medicine, transforming diabetes from a death sentence to a manageable disease. But today, people with diabetes are dying because they can't afford the life-saving drug, sometimes even if they have insurance. In 1996, a vial of one of the most popular insulin brands cost $21. 2001, it was up to $35. 2015, it was $234. And last year, it jumped to $275 per vial. Some patients can pay up to $400 for just one vial. More than 30 million Americans have diabetes, and about 7 million use insulin. And according to a recent study, 1 in 4 reported skipping doses because of the cost. Many factors play a role in the high price, including the fact that no generic versions are on the market. It's no wonder a tweet from a frustrated mom recently went viral. Doreen Rudolph of Long Island tweeted this: "I just bought 2 vials of insulin for my daughter. Cost me $524 with a discount card. All I could buy. I left the pharmacy and sat in my car and cried." Doreen is with us today. It's nice to have you.
Nice. Thank you.
So you tell me about your daughter, Nicole. She's 27 years old. When was she diagnosed with diabetes?
She was diagnosed at 12.
Oh, so she has been using insulin from all that time?
Yes.
So at 26, she was no longer covered on your insurance, and suddenly she had to pay for insulin herself. So how much did the insulin price jump from what you were paying on your insurance, which was probably just a copay, to what now she was paying?
My 3-month supply was $50. Hers was a little over $1,300.
Wow.
For a 3-month supply of insulin.
And so
that was a little bit of a shock.
So from the time she's been 26, have you and your husband been helping her out in covering her insulin?
Oh, we've had to, sure. She doesn't make nearly enough that. She couldn't even pay. I was paying her copays all along, even when she was on my insurance, because that was even tight. And the $1,300 would just be way out of what she made. She would just be working to pay for her insulin.
What would happen if she didn't take her insulin?
Well, if you don't take your insulin, and she's had this issue in the past, you go into diabetic ketoacidosis, where the acid just develops in your body and your organs shut down one at a time. You would die within 1 to 2 days.
When did you realize that that tweet, which just sounded like you were frustrated and done, had gone viral?
I didn't actually even realize it until I had over 803 messages in my inbox. And then I was like, okay, this is a little overwhelming. And then I actually don't tweet all that often, and I just tweet when I'm frustrated because my daughter isn't on Twitter with the price and how much it's affecting us and how much money we always have to get up to pay for this, and where do we get it from next, that type of situation.
Is that how it is for you? You feel like you're constantly trying to strategize about how you're going to cover this thing?
Oh, sure. We've borrowed money from our retirements. We've used our savings. It drains you besides all your other medical costs.
So it went viral and people started donating money.
Yes.
How much were you able to raise through the GoFundMe?
About $6,000.
You have raised money for a year, basically. What happens in a year?
I don't know. I don't know. I'll keep working. I'll keep trying to save money for that point and hope. I will always hope things change, but I have to plan for if they don't. So I actually don't know.
It must be very frustrating. You're dealing between a child who lives and dies.
It is. It is. This is your child. You've watched them get very sick. You've watched them get diagnosed. It's very heartbreaking for me to see this struggle.
Is it something you deal with every day?
Yes.
Why does it make you cry?
It makes me cry because you watch your child struggle. You watch them try to get better. You watch them to try to be normal. What she considers normal is life without diabetes, and she never had that. And if you could take it away, you would, but you can't.
And the financial burden is crazy.
And it's okay for me to struggle, but you don't want to see your children struggle.
What do you think the solution is?
I think they have to go after the pharmaceutical companies. The president of the pharmaceutical companies, they raise the price over and over and over again, and they seem to raise the price on the things that you can't do without.
Congress could, and they choose not to.
Correct. And that's where it hurts. And whenever you look at the list of medications that they advertise that are dropped, it's never insulin.
Do you see this spurring you into action politically? I mean, this is how people start.
I feel like I'm normally a very shy person. I'm not an outspoken person that way, but I don't feel like I have a choice. This is not something I want to stand up and talk about. This is not something that I want to have to bring up over and over again. But I feel like I don't have a choice in it. I'm doing it for my daughter. She needs her insulin. She needs to be able to afford it. I may not always be there.
Doreen Rudolph, thank you for talking with me. I know it's difficult, and I do appreciate you coming in and speaking about this.
Oh, thank you.
And best of luck to you and your daughter, too.
Thank you.
You bet.
I'm sorry I cried.
No, I am a mom, and I fully 100% understand. And right now, as we talked about, there's no significant legislation in Congress to lower prescription prices, specifically insulin.
When we come back, how ghosts of the past and present still haunt Charlottesville.
We still have finger pointing, people blaming everyone but themselves. You can still hear that in the conversations.
How do you heal a divided city? And Congress tried to pass this bill in 2004, 2005, 2006, and 2007. Will it finally happen in 2018?
Next Sunday marks 1 year since white supremacists forever changed the image of Charlottesville, Virginia. Angered over the proposed removal of 2 Confederate statues, they organized a Unite the Right rally. It turned deadly when a self-proclaimed Nazi drove into a crowd of counter-protesters. Some residents blamed outsiders for the chaos, shocked that their city of Charlottesville, which calls itself progressive, could be home to white supremacists. Others say it just pulled the lid off the deep-seated racism within the city and called for sweeping changes immediately. So what's changed in nearly 365 days? Mayor Nikaya Walker joins us from Charlottesville. It's nice to have you. Thank you for being with us, Madam Mayor. Let's talk.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you bet. Absolutely. Take us back almost a year ago. As you look back on that day, what do you realize now about the city and about what happened that you didn't know a year ago?
I think, what I want everyone else in the world to just be aware of is that what you said during your intro, that the deep-seated racism has been a major problem and still remains a problem in Charlottesville. The notion that we were talking about outsiders invading and not talking about, 2 UVA alum who called people into our town to wreak havoc. And were joined by some people who lived here. That's the message that I hope people are well aware of almost a year later.
There are many people who said that, right? That it was outsiders, that the problem was not internal. Why do you think, I think I know the answer to this.
Oh, yeah,
why
just
people,
the distance.
Right, to say it's not us, it's another problem.
Even calling them Nazis, we take away from, what has happened historically in America. the behavior perpetuated by white supremacy. So you say Nazis, people immediately think, oh, outside of the U.S. And then you get to Charlottesville and you distance yourself even, further by saying outsiders.
In the days after the protest, I remember that you spoke before the city council about the government's reaction, and you said this: why did you think that you could walk in here and do business as usual after this happened? What exactly did you mean by that to the very government officials that you were addressing?
The city attempted to have a council meeting, regular start time, regular agenda, and instead of hearing from citizens about, their reaction to the events, the council at the time attempted to ignore, people and their reaction. And that's not how you begin the process of moving forward. They didn't want to acknowledge how much they had screwed up.
In Charlottesville, the city council elects the mayor. You had an opponent, and you were the person who was very critical of city government. Why would they pick you?
It's hard to get me in a room and dismiss me. So once I got in the room, even before the events of the summer started occurring, it's, people started questioning what they knew to be truth about the town we lived in. Charlottesville is a really harmful place if you are Black, Hispanic, and low income and white. And people were open to challenging that. And I'm probably the best person to challenge the system.
Nekiah Walker is the mayor of Charlottesville. It's nice to have you joining us, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet.
Coming up next, what's all that swiping, sharing, and streaming doing to your child's head? We don't know yet, but Congress is willing to spend big bucks to find out. And NASA's blasting off on its hottest mission ever. Can it really touch the sun?
And now to our weekly feature we like to call We're Paying Attention, Even If You're Too Busy. Congress wants to spend nearly $100 million studying how technology affects kids' brains. In July, Colorado Senator Michael Bennet introduced the Children and Media Research Advancement Act, or CAMRA. But CAMRA is no stranger to Congress. It was first introduced in 2004, focused on video games, didn't have a lot of bipartisan support. CAMRA made a comeback in 2005. In 2006 and in 2007, just months before Apple unveiled its first ever iPhone. Fast forward to 2018, 45% of teenagers say they are online almost constantly. Congress now seems ready to understand how technology can help or hurt, or maybe both, children. Currently, the National Institutes of Health doesn't devote a lot of time or money trying to figure out what role technology plays in childhood development. But if CAMRA passes, it would give the NIH $95 million to study the effects of technology on babies, on children, and on teenagers.
When we return, NASA will have the hottest ride this summer.
It's the closest any spacecraft has ever gotten to the sun. NASA is embarking on its hottest mission to date, literally. NASA says its Parker Solar Probe will touch the sun, which is actually kind of an oversell. The probe is actually going to explore the sun's atmosphere, so it'll be about 4 million miles away from the sun's surface. Still, it's the closest any spacecraft has ever gotten to the sun, which means the probe will face brutal heat and radiation. Why does NASA want to probe the sun? Well, there's still lots we don't know about it, especially its corona, the outer atmosphere. Why is it hotter than the sun's surface? How does solar wind affect the Earth? The launch is scheduled for August 11. When NASA was formed back in 1958, scientists created a wish list of missions they wanted to accomplish. 60 years later, this is the last mission on that bucket list. The Parker Solar Probe is the first spacecraft named for a living person. In 1958, Dr. Eugene Parker correctly predicted the existence of solar wind. He's now 91 years old and plans to watch the launch of the Parker Solar Probe from Cape Canaveral. I'm Soledad O'Brien. That's it for this edition of Matter of Fact, and I'll see you back here next week.